Hello, my name is Stuart. This is my eBay Talk channel. I make videos now and again when I've got something to say. Yeah, the cyber incident with the Royal Mail not being able to export overseas seems to be over. Of course, there's the aftermath and all the people that we sent packages out to shortly before have still not arrived, and obviously having to pay out refunds on some of them. Okay, but anyway, moving on. I just wanted to tell you a little story about a special deal I did for a customer, which kind of illustrates how kind of sort of dangerous it is to offer more than the listing states. So I'll just tell you the story and you can evaluate it for yourselves. So as you may know, I sell spare parts for watches. That's my speciality. And the customer approached me, I think 2 weeks ago. He said he had a watch and he needed a crystal for it. So I had a listing for the crystal. He needed a case back seal, a little sort of round rubber thingy which goes on the case. You take the case back off, you put it in a groove, you put the case back on, and the idea is it seals it, prevents water leakage. So he needed one of those, and then he needed another seal for the crystal. So I did a bit of a deal for him. I said to him, if he buys the crystal and if he buys the case back seal, I will give him the crystal seal for nothing. So I did a deal for him. I've done it before and it's not really been a problem. Customers like it and it usually encourages a sale. It's not a problem for me financially really, because you know the parts that I buy in don't really cost me a lot of money, so it's only going to cost me an extra 50 pence or a pound to supply this item. But to the customer, it looks like a good saving of like £10. So what happened was this. He placed his order, he ordered those 2 items and he got 3. Yeah. So a week goes by and he suddenly leaves me positive feedback for the crystal. And he says it fitted perfectly well and he's pleased. And then a few more days went by and he sent me an email or a message through the eBay system, and he said this. He said that the crystal fitted beautifully, but the case back seal, his watchmaker who did the work said it does not fit. Now I have a lot of trouble with watchmakers because I mainly supply to people who do their own repairs, and under those circumstances I never really get any problems. Because, for example, a lot of my seals, Seiko seals for example, the original is not available. And if that's the case, what I do is I hunt down the original. You can always get these things if you're prepared to pay a premium price. I might have to pay 3 times the price for it, but if I can get the seal, the original, I can usually supply a copy based on the original, same size, more or less, same shape, more or less, does the job. You know, hobbyists, people that do their own repairs, they've been satisfied with my products and they've never reported to me that there have been any problems in the last 10 years. But a watchmaker is another ball game, because, for example, a lot of Seiko seals, they're, how can I put it? They're kind of square cross section. So there's a sort of a tube shape, and then there's a kind of cube cross section. Like they're like kind of square. And in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people, whether it's a square cross section or a round cross section doesn't really make any difference, because it sits in that groove and it fills that groove and it doesn't let water in, whether it's square, whether it's round. I mean, with it being round, as long as it's big enough, the compression will create a sort of hermetic environment. So, but if a watchmaker knows that the original is a square section, he might get fussy and say, this isn't right. And that does happen with watchmakers. And so it doesn't really surprise me when people come to me and say, my watch repairman said, no, it's not the correct one. So in my opinion, it does fit. And he's returning it for no good reason. But anyway, of course, if he wants to return it, he can. However, because of the deal that I'd done with him, I said to him this. I said, that's fine. I said, if you don't need the seal, or if your watchmaker says it doesn't fit, I'm happy to take it back. However, I would also need to have back from you the bonus item which I supplied on condition that you buy 2 items from me, namely the gasket for the gasket seal for the crystal. If you can send that back to me, I'll happily refund your money for that, for the seal which you said doesn't fit. And I went back through the correspondence just to make sure, and sure enough, I found in the message I sent to him, I actually specifically laid out the deal, and I said, if you buy these 2 items from me, I will supply you with this seal free of charge. It was a condition that he buy 2 items in order to get the seal. And obviously, had he come to me just buying the crystal and he wanted the gasket for the crystal, I would have said, well, you've got to pay for it. So that was about 4 or 5 days ago. I said that to him, that he's got to return the crystal gasket, and he hasn't replied. I can only assume that the watchmaker used the crystal gasket. It's now sitting in the watch and he can't return it. And that means he also can't return the seal. I actually think it was a bit cheeky of him, given that I went out of my way to advise him and I offered him that special deal. And he should have realized that it was contingent on him buying 2 items, and that if he sends one back, then the deal collapses. Now, he could have been awkward and he could have decided to open a case on eBay anyway and return the gasket. He could do that. Frankly, he could still do that despite what I've said about it being a special deal, and there's nothing that I can do about it. But he knows full well what the deal was, regardless of the eBay rights that he's got. He knows full well what the deal was if he goes back through the correspondence. And if he's any kind of reasonable gentleman, he will not return that gasket, because it's breaking a kind of private arrangement that me and him had. I mean, having said that, to be honest with you, there have been people that have broken those arrangements and decided not to be gentlemen, and they've decided not to have honor or integrity. Well, you know, I like to be a person of my word. I like to fulfill my obligations, and I like to stick to deals that I promise and not go back on them. And I wouldn't do it to a seller, but we've all got different standards. Not all of us have got self-respect. So, but he probably has got self-respect, and I don't expect him to return that seal. So just a little comment there. Take care with the special, with the offers when you make people an offer. It could go wrong. I would still tend to make those offers because I like to have a reputation that I can do nice things like that for people, but somebody could take advantage of it. Luckily, in this case, it didn't happen. Okay, well, that's my comment for this week. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back again with another video. Bye for now.